Now, our first reader in the open mic is Sheila Fitzpatrick.
I met a nun and a priest in the church. I'm a florist and I just had to write about them. Father Tom and Sister Therese. For the past 65 years, brother and sister returned from Boston for the full month of August. Each day at 3 o'clock, they walked the aisle in St. Mary's Church. Like husband and wife, arm in arm, in familial affection, vows linking them to God. Heads bowed before the altar, they shared the same pew, rosary beads and prayer book. Recite the rosary, and after each decade, they kiss the crucifix. The relic of St. Therese. Arranging the church flowers in St. Mary's, I distracted the elderly couple from prayer. Handing each one a white rose. Say one for me, I whispered, and made them laugh. We spoke of God, poetry, and of the little flower. Today is your lucky day, he said. Both of them smiled. He took from his inside pocket a relic of St. Therese. It's old, he said, over 100 years, and handed me the gilded locket. Holding the fragment of her bone, I whispered a prayer. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Sheila. Margaret, Mary, Glasgow.
You caught me unawares there and I'm not even ready. I wrote a poem actually last week and I titled it Raw Recession. And my poetry sometimes is inclined, in my opinion, is inclined to be a little bit long. So I actually worked on it again last night and I called it Recession Condensed. Very original, I know, but red raw rumbles beyond reason. Poverty stench seeps penetrating. Musty, mouldy mirror streak. Imagery blurry bleats a chill. Worn, wrenched, wounded. Blood spills. Music muted, marginalized now. Hunger bursts to hide new hope. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Margaret. Barry Finnegan.
Hi. I wrote this one around about the same time last year. One last suitcase. Yesterday, rain ducked under the fascia to coat spider webs with a glassy layer the wind could just not shake. Yesterday, clouds dressed in the color of winter and consumed the sky and all its church spires. It was one of those days where the air was tainted with the breath of 100 somber chimneys. A day where old people shuffled along pale pavements in overstuffed overcoats and time-tested headgear. Yesterday, crows refused to forage, but clung instead to flailing TV aerials, blasting their indignant curses against the waves of litter that skimmed the surface of a deserted park and dammed up against the foot of its cast iron railings. A robin took shelter in the corner of the windowsill for a while yesterday. Unaware of my presence behind the mist of glass, the bird fluffed up and I could see Christmas in its eye. I could smell the steamy welcome in a mug of mulled wine, hear the whisper of unexpected long-time friends on the doorstep as they debate whether or not to shout surprise, but settle instead for a tearful carol. Then the bird and the memories were gone, leaving behind the November-drenched street where a taxi had patiently waited for you to fetch one last suitcase, one long year ago. Standing at the door, you blamed me for the snow-willing wind for the redness in your eyes, silenced my lips with a touch of your finger, stepped out of my embrace. Yesterday I got your letter. You spoke of trivial things, reminisced a little, you wondered if, and left the line blank for me to lay my own hopes upon yours. Your page, punctuated with sun and spiced with the exotic flavours of foreign place names, was shackled to a language neither you or I inherited, a tongue that holds no family for us. Today, clouds still dress in the colour of winter, still consume the sky and all its church spires, crows still rodeo ride lofty rooftop receivers and shout. Today the wind still torments already bare trees, and it still whispers its cruel contempt for you and all the others unfaithful.
Now we have Tom Golden Gloves McCarthy.
The lady that read earlier was talking about, she tells everybody that there's plenty of sex in the book and that you're in it as well. I've started writing my memoirs, and since the chap that comes to the shop an odd time, since he's learned that I'm writing my memoirs, he's over every morning telling me stories about this and stories about that, hoping that they're all gone into the book and I can't get anything written with them. Anyway, I'll try this. It's on drugs, and most of the lads here, most of the lunatics that come out to the poetry every night, I suppose. I've heard this several times before. There are some people that didn't hear it. And on the basis that we got to watch our children from the creche upwards on the basis of drugs, so that's what it's really about. Can you imagine 1,000 children splashing up moon dust in a fishbowl and doing somersaults in the thick atmosphere of the moon, left wondering how they got through the ozone layer without protective clothing? The cow nearly knocking the bowl over, and the little dog laughed to see such fun as the dish ran away with the hot spoon. Can you imagine, for 1 minute, becoming a prince, kissing Snow White on the lips, bringing her back to life again, hallucinating her as your princess wife, only to suffocate her again by galloping off into the depth of the sea on a grey-white seahorse stallion, leaving the 7 months in tears. The same prince returning to claim the glass slipper left in the palace hall after the royal ball, only to let it slip through his fingers, smashing it into 1,000 crystal pieces, losing all hope of finding feet as petite as Cinderella's. Can you imagine being the daddy bear, getting angry when finding the family's porridge had been nibbled at, and the blankets in the beds had been ruffled with, chasing Goldilocks through the forest, crashing into Little Red Riding Hood, scattering the contents of her basket, only to find a casket full to the brim with coke, heroin, and upjohn 90s, medicine for her sick, aging grandmother, so she told the big bad wolf in uniform. Can you imagine 3 little pigs with peer pressure, wanting to go through the ozone layer without protective clothing, wanting to splash up moon dust in a fishbowl, do somersaults in the thick atmosphere of the moon? Hey diddle diddle, the cat and the fiddle, the cow jumped over the moon, the little dog laughed to see such fun, and the dish got high with the hot spoon. Thank you.